Going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. Sorry, didn't go live right away. Had some issues with my streaming software because I'm, on this new streaming software. But yeah, so we are going to recap another phenomenal game by Damian Lillard. I mean, what can I even say at this point? We'll get into it. We'll try and explain what this dude is doing right now. It's going to be a lot of the same. A lot of the same stuff that we've discussed before. Thank you guys for being patient with this stream. Glad to finally go live. I'm joined by Eric Brandt already. I already have him in here. So actually, I'm going to let him start off. He said he wanted me to start off. I'll let you start off opening up the recap of this game, bro. Yeah, it's insane. Yes. All right, there you go. Wait. Are you okay? Go. Yeah, go. Sorry, stuff's been glitchy, guys. All right, there we go. Eric can go. There we go.
I had an epic open, and you didn't even have my mic.
Come on, man. It wasn't that you should be able to recreate that. Come on, Dame's recreating 50-point game after 50-point game after 50-point game, so you can recreate that opening.
Tori, are you kidding me? What is going on? What are we witnessing?
That's exactly what he said. So Damian Lillard drops 51 tonight. He's not even taking 30 shots to drop these games, so it's not some Harden-esque stuff. It's more impressive than what James Harden has been doing. Dame has just been on fire in such a zone. He's getting he's trying to average 30 points per game this year. As I've done after every one of Damian Lillard's scoring outbursts, I'm going to calculate his stats just because it's insane how much his scoring averages, assists per game averages have risen game by game by game. So I want to let me pull up the internet here. Let me calculate this. But
I don't know if you saw this ESPN stat.
What was it?
First player in NBA history to average 45 plus points and 10 assists over a 6-game span.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, he's setting all sorts of records, like his 6 straight games with 6 3-point shots or more. That stat that you just pulled, this is a historic stretch of basketball that the league has never really seen. I mean, we've seen some great stretches of basketball, but I mean, I'm losing track of I'm losing track of how many big games he's having. It's just literally every game right now is. I'm expecting 45 to 50 points out of Damian Lillard, which is insane to say if you really think about that, man.
Yeah, and like Melo Stay says, it's against playoff teams too, and really good defensive teams. I mean, Utah's designed to stop Damian Lillard with Gobert in the paint and Conley, Ingles, and Donovan Mitchell, all good perimeter defenders. There's no way he should get basically an effortless 51 points on that team.
Yeah.
I know he got 59 a few years ago, but they didn't have Conley back then, and Conley had maybe his best game of the season tonight. But yeah, it just seems, I don't know, it definitely seems like he scored 50 points, but it doesn't seem like, other than hitting deep threes, it's not like he's forcing up a lot of shots and
it's just
he's
hard
not
to
getting
always
it on free throws.
You just always have to account for him when he's 32 feet or closer. You know what I mean? Sometimes even out to 35 feet. You always have to have a body on him. If you don't, he's rising up and hitting threes at a super efficient clip. So that's very hard to do, to always account for a guy whenever he passes the half-court line, basically. Especially when he's running around screens. And the thing is, you know what I've noticed, man? His assists per game have looked good as well, because when he's hitting 3-point shots at this level, it opens up the drive so much. It's so easy for him to get into the lane because guys are just selling out to try and take him off the 3-point line because he's shooting threes at such a ridiculous clip right now. And the thing is, if defenses don't try and run him off the 3-point line, he's making literally everything he throws at the rim right now. And if they do run him off off the three-point line. He's able to get inside. He has a good pick and roll target in Whiteside, and he's just able to manipulate the defense into doing what he wants. I mean, you literally can't guard the drive and the three-point line with him off a pick and roll. He is the best pick and roll player in the NBA right now. Not only his scoring threat, but the way he's passing off of it. He has that pocket pass down. We saw a really good pocket pass to Whiteside in the first half. I think it was the first half, might have been the second half, but I mean, just all around running the pick and roll, man, he's as lethal as it gets. And you just can't stop it.
He threw at least 3 lobs tonight, too.
Mm-hmm. He's improving his lob passing. He had 3 lobs in the first quarter. It wasn't even in the game. It was in the first quarter. He had 2 to Little, who's been cutting really well. I love Nasir Little cutting baseline and getting lobs for dunks instead of him spotting up for 3 like he was earlier this season. But that was one of my complaints is, why are we having guys spot up for 3s when they'd be better as cutters? Now look, Little's cutting, Dame's getting better at lobs, and we're getting some highlight plays, which we didn't really have at all this year outside of Dame. Now we have Nasir Little rising up and throwing down dunks because Dame's throwing pinpoint lobs left and right. It's really fun to watch, man. I'm glad we had a fun stretch this season. With how bad everything had been before this, now we've beaten 4 playoff teams in a row. I'm in shock at how well we're playing all of a sudden, and part of that is Dame, but part of that's everybody else too.
Yeah, I mean, he does need players to hit shots still, and Whiteside is just finishing amazing around the hoop right now. So anytime Dame gets doubled and he dumps it to Whiteside, it's pretty much an automatic bucket. He's shooting like over 60% now, I think, from the field. So, I mean, that's huge for his assist numbers. And if he learns to throw lobs for dunks more often, that'll keep going up. Melo was a little bit of a ball stopper tonight, but Little, his 3 was money too, like perfect form. I thought, like I'm really impressed with how much he's working on his shot. Because
he shot that. That three he made,
amazing.
That 3 he made was a couple feet behind the 3-point line. He wasn't at the 3-point line. He shot it with confidence. Like, if he can start hitting shots like that and cutting, this guy will be a really good NBA player. His defense, cutting, athleticism, and then he's shown some flashes of ball handling. I think he can maybe push the ball in transition in the future. But just the flashes he's showing right now in his rookie season are more than I expected from him, and it's very encouraging. Especially that 3-point shot. He's hit 3 3-pointers in the last 2 games, and his shot looks a lot better, a lot smoother. You can tell he's working on it. I think he's a guy that will end up being one of those guys that. His rookie season wasn't remarkable. Who knows if he even plays much next year, but he's going to work his ass off, and he's going to rise from where he's at now into being a really good NBA player someday. I'm really excited to see what he has in store for us for his future. Shout out to Nicholas Arnold for the $5 donation. Shout out to Lil Bakel for a $2 donation. Lil Bakel says, Rudy Gobert also got held to only 1 field goal this game. Yeah, Whiteside thoroughly outplayed Rudy Gobert. It shocked me how much better Hassan Whiteside played than Rudy Gobert. I said before that Rudy Gobert is going to have trouble with Dame because Rudy Gobert doesn't want to leave the paint and get up there and take away Dame. So Dame was able to kind of bring him out of the paint and then get by him and finish. He kind of struggled with that, but Whiteside shut him down inside, had a block or 2 on him, and then Whiteside finished very, very well. And Whiteside's playing his best basketball this season at the same time Dame is. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I think that kind of goes hand in hand. Yeah. Dame feeding Whiteside at an elite level. Shout out to First P Last JL, the $2 donation. He says MVP. Those were the loudest MVP chants I've ever heard at a Blazer game.
Old Jakob donated the 20 Norwegian cronies.
Oh,
too.
I missed that. Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of donation, guys. No donations.
He says the fact that Dame is shooting 40% from 3, I'm in awe.
Is he now up to 40% from 3? What did he shoot tonight from the field?
He was 9 of 15 from 3, I know.
Okay.
I don't know what it was.
951 divided by... no, wait. Isn't
51.
Yeah, I don't know. I added the 9 3-point makes to his field goal attempts. 183 plus 9. That's 192 divided by...
I don't see your
484.
Your graphics updating with people donating though.
It takes a second, and I'm not sure. The software is kind of glitchy, so it might not. Yeah, I don't think it will, which sucks. So We had problems with the software, so I'll just hide that then. I still got to learn how to use it. I'll just hide it since it's not showing up for you guys. And then I'll just bring this up here. There we go. But Dame's shooting after this game 39.7% from the field. Or not from the field, from the three-point line. 39.7%. That would be a career high for him.
Career high easy, yeah.
Well, in his second season, he shot 39.4% from three.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But then his next closest, I mean, last year last year he didn't even shoot 37%. So this is increased efficiency. His true shooting percentage is approaching 63%. His points per game after this game is over 29.8 points per game. His assists per game are over 7.9 assists per game. So he has another game like this, he's going to be getting over 30 points per game and I don't know, 8 assists. 8 assists per game. 30 and 8, bro. That's insane. I want to go look at Steph Curry's best season. Steph Curry's best season, he averaged 30.1 points per game and 6.7 assists per game. At this point, the way Dame's played this year, he might deserve to be up there with Steph Curry. He is in the same tier as Steph Curry at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Which this year Dame has just taken it to a whole nother level. You know, I wouldn't have put him in the same tier, but Dame is leaving. He is leaving the Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, whatever, that tier. That shouldn't even be a debate anymore. The only people that debate Dame not being better than those guys are biased fans of those guys. Dame is leaving that tier and taking a huge step up, and he's stepping into the Steph Curry tier right now. Right now, he's playing like the best player in the league. His stats are as impressive as Steph Curry's stats have ever been in any season. We're talking about Steph Curry being a 2-time MVP. So, like, that's the thing. If Dame didn't have injuries, if Dame had a bunch of talent surrounding him and this team was 10 games better, I think he would definitely be a top 3 MVP candidate with Harden and Giannis. I think he'd be above Harden potentially. Like, he's having an MVP season, as close to an MVP season as we've ever seen. The only thing holding him back is the team is 23 and 27, but they're getting closer to 500. That's 4 games in a row. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Shout out to Zacho. He donated $2 and said Whiteside is lazy and only stat pads and sarcastic up and down letters.
Yep, Zacho, the king of sarcasm is Zacho. But yeah, just phenomenal play by Damian Lillard, man. I am so impressed, and I gotta look at his game log because the 40 and 50 point games are starting to blur together. You know, like it's insane, man. It's insane. I always felt like Dame could have stretches like this, like if he improved, you know, and like got even better, because he would have games like this, but he'd never string together multiple games like this. You know what I mean? He might string together 2, but it'd be like one every 5 games he'd just go off like this. Now he literally has strung together 6 games in a row like this. Like it's insane. So here's his game log. So starting on, let me find it here.
Shout out to Ash for the $5 donation. Dame is having as good a season as 2016. MVP Steph with hauled his starting lineup out. Steph had prime Draymond and Clay.
He's saying
guessing
without.
This is half. With half his starting.
Yeah, with half his starting lineup out. Yeah, shout out to Ash for the $5 donation. You guys are killing it on the donations. I wish I had a graphic up there for that, or like a little pop-up animation, but my software was freaking out, and I wanted to make sure I got live for you guys. But shout out to you guys donating.
Beavis says we're crazy. Damian is way better than Steph.
I mean, this year obviously, but the last game Dame struggled, funnily enough, was the game we won at Houston. And he didn't even really struggle. He had 25 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds. But he shot 8 for 20 and 1 for 8 from the 3-point line. So that was the last not great game he's had. Before that even, he had 30 points on 16 shots against Charlotte. But starting after that Houston game against Dallas, that was at Dallas, that 34-point game, he had 34 and 10. Shot 50% from the field. Then after that against OKC, he had 34 and 6. And then he started just his insane tear. 61 against Golden State with 11 threes. 47 against Dallas with 8 threes. 50 against Indiana with 8 threes. 36, 11, and 10, his first triple-double against Houston. He had 6 threes. 48, 10, and 9 against the Lakers with 7 threes. And then tonight, 51 and 12 with 9 threes. That is insane, man. That is insane. So starting at that Golden State game, I got to calculate his average. Did you have his average for the past 6 games?
No, I just know it's over 45.
It's almost
48.8 or 49, somewhere around there. 48.8 is Freddie says.
Oh, dude.
And Clay's is taking credit for this. He says Dame averaged nearly 50 points and Blazers are 5-1. And post-game participants have tripled since I appeared on the post-game show. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because he had posted after that OKC game. After that OKC game, and then the game after that, Dame had 61.
Yeah.
But we can't bring it back on because maybe that would then like reverse it. You know what I mean? So like until Dame slows down, you know what I mean? Like wouldn't want to like jinx it back. You know, he's like flip. Yeah. He's the switch. You know, he flipped Dame into this mode. Don't want to flip them back. But Dame's averaging 48.8 points per game his last 6 games. He has 5 of those 6 games. He has at least 47 points. That is absolutely absurd. That is absolutely absurd, man.
I don't know if you noticed it, but CJ was going crazy, like trying to get the crowd pumped up for Dame to get 50. Melo was going crazy. Ariza was going crazy. They were all like, there was a shot of Dame after he hit one of the threes. I think it was the one to give him like 47. Mm-hmm. And Ariza was just like in disbelief. And he like, and then he looked
was he in the game?
No, he was in the game. And then he like glanced back at Dame and Dame looked right at him and Ariza just turned around and like smiled. He was like, dude, like this guy is crazy. And this is a guy who played with Kobe in his prime. Mm-hmm. And he's like in disbelief on what Dame is doing right now.
I mean, what was the talk about like Kobe's best stretch? I wonder how this compares to Kobe's best stretch, because I remember there was like talk in the past week about Kobe had just an absurd stretch, and I saw the numbers and it was like, yeah, that's absurd, but I'm not sure it was better than what Dame's doing right now. My goodness, man.
So he had a 50-point streak, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dame has 5 of 6 games with at least 47. 3 of those were 50. 1 was 48. 1 was 47. You know what I mean? But he's also averaging 10 assists over that stretch or something like that. So.
But it was 4 straight games he scored 50.
Okay.
So Dame is like basically right there. Yeah, I mean he only got 48 last night. Bum.
I know, man. It's gonna be such a bummer when he falls back to getting like 30 a game. You know what I mean? Like
that seems so like ordinary, but that's still like incredible.
Oh my goodness, man. That's the thing, is he like hasn't even started all that fast the last couple games. Like the first 6 minutes, it just seems like he's kind of feeling his way out. He'll have like 5-6 points or something like that. Won't really be super aggressive, and then all of a sudden, I think he only had like 12 or 13 at halftime in the Lakers game, and then he had that huge third quarter. He had like 26 or whatever. But this game, it was like kind of started slow again. It was like, okay, maybe he kind of missed some shots early, and it was like, okay, maybe this is the game where he finally slows down. And then at the end of the first quarter, you could tell he started getting hot, and it literally just carried through the rest of the game. And it's almost like he knows he has enough of green light, and he knows he's hot enough that like even if he misses 3-4 shots, like he just expects to get to the point where he's making literally everything he throws up. You know what I mean? Like he's talked about it in interviews, how he expects to make every single shot he shoots. And right now, I feel like that's the fan base too, man. Like, oh, I'm just in awe. I'm just in absolute awe. And it's just funny looking back to 4 games ago. Because we were talking about, we were 8 games under 500, looking at a stretch of 8 games with 7 against playoff teams. And with how we struggled against winning teams this year, it was like, dude, this could be rough. You know what I mean? I expect to end up 10 games under 500 or something. It's just a super, super difficult stretch, and we haven't been playing good against winning teams. It's just funny to look back at it. I was like, you know what? I'd be happy if we somehow went 500 over this 8-game stretch. Well, right now we're 4-0 because we beat great wins. Great wins. Indiana, Houston, Los Angeles Lakers on the road, and Jazz, who have been a great team this year. The Jazz at home. So that's what also makes it more impressive. He's not doing this against the Phoenix Suns and the Kings and teams like that. He's doing it against great teams.
Yeah, so I just looked up Kobe's game log. So he had 65 against us, and then 50 against Minnesota, 60 the next game, 50 the next game after that, then 43. Then they had a 23-point game, and then a 53-point game.
Yeah.
So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7 games over 50, and 6 out of 7 over 40. That's pretty crazy. But I mean, Dame's pretty much right there if you average that.
Yeah. I mean, and who knows how long this lasts, man.
Yeah.
I wish there wasn't 2 days off. I've been talking about in the past, like, oh, it's kind of nice to have 2 days off between games because we hadn't had 2 days off between a game in like 3-4 weeks until January 22nd, 23rd, around then. And I was like, oh, it's nice to have 2 days off. With the way the team's playing and how hot Dame is, I don't want there to be 2 days off. I want them to play every day until Dame comes down off this high. Like, obviously, practically, that wouldn't be a good thing practically. Dame would get burnt out like that. And the team would get burnt out playing every single night. But I don't want this hot streak to wear off. I want him to do this for the rest of the season if possible, man. That's what also sucks about the All-Star break coming up is, like, I don't know. When you're on this type of hot streak, like, you just want to keep it going and going and going and just ride the wave.
Yeah. It will be nice for Dame to get some rest, though.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll make every shot in the 3-point contest too, and score 50 in the All-Star game.
He's always struggled in the 3-point contest, though.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's too close.
Hey, but if he's this hot, I don't know. Yeah, he is too close. That's the thing. That's why I wanted to have deeper 3-point spots, and you hated that idea, but it would work for Dame, man.
Yeah.
Shout out M Sotelo 503 for the $2 donation. They said this season has been a roller coaster. Dame time. Yeah, we're on the way up, dude. We're getting boosted to the moon right now. This roller coaster might fly off the rails and fly to the moon at this point.
There was one of the times in the third quarter when he hit 2 threes in a row. Mm-hmm. I think it was the one where they came out of the timeout and he hit the open one, and then he hit one on the next possession. He was dribbling the ball up, and whoever was guarding him, I think it might have been Royce O'Neal or something, was playing like 10 feet behind the half-court line. Mm-hmm. And I thought for a second Dame was going to pull for half-court. I wanted him to do it so bad. It would have been so awesome.
You said that was
even
in the
if
fourth?
He made it.
Was that in the fourth?
No, it was in I think it was the third quarter when he hit the 2 threes in the third. I just want him to do it like one time when he's just hit a couple threes in a row and he's unconscious. Like, I know he said he would get in trouble for doing it, but like, what's Stott's going to do to him? Bench him?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely not. That's the thing. Stott's like, Dame has been so hot, you almost can't even be mad if he does that. You know what I mean? You can't even, like...
And he'll probably make it, too, so...
Yeah, man. That's crazy. Right... We could be the best 8th seed in NBA history. You know what I mean? And lose in the first round, but still be like the best 8th seed in NBA history. If you think about, like the way this team's playing right now, if they carried that on into the 8th seed, that would be a series against whoever, and that could be the best 8th seed possible. I mean, if LeBron or AD gets hurt or something, we would probably be the favorites in that series if we can keep up this level of play, maybe make... in addition at the deadline, buyout market, I have no idea. I have no idea how that's going to play out, and this whole run is making that a lot more interesting. We can talk about that in a little bit, but I wouldn't want to face us, man. I wouldn't want to face us, and I don't know. This team just showed they can beat the Lakers on the road. They just handed Utah a blowout loss. They just blew out Houston for the second time in a row we played them. I mean, they're playing like a contender right now all of a sudden. It's shocking.
Yep, and Chiefin's not buying it. He says you're getting overboard, Tori.
How am I getting overboard, man? I've literally put the disclaimer with this. I said if the team plays like this right now, you know what I mean? I'm saying if the team plays like this and right now they're playing like a contender. But that's just the past 4 games. Because obviously before that they struggled mightily. So I'm not saying they're going to keep doing that. Obviously Dame probably isn't going to average 50 a game over the final 30 games of this season. But overall, you know, if we kept up this level of play, I wouldn't want to face us. We could be the best 8 seed ever if we kept up this level of play. If we were able to play at this level. Obviously, don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I'm not saying that we will. That's the thing. People got to focus on the words I'm using because I'm using specific words for a reason.
We're so far behind, but honestly, if we use that disclaimer and play like this the rest of the season, we'll be ahead of the 8 seed because there's no way one of those teams wouldn't falter a little bit. You already see Utah starting to struggle a little bit. OKC could come back down to earth at some point. Houston struggled at times.
I mean, we got 2 more games left against Utah, and we're 9.5 back of them. If we win both of those, we'd have to make up 7.5 games, but we'd have the tiebreaker. But the thing is, we have a really easy schedule after February 11th. You gotta remember this, guys. We're going on. The thing is, this 8-game stretch is our hardest 8-game stretch of the year, and we're 4-0 on it. And we have a really easy stretch after this, and we'll get healthy. You know what I mean? So, I don't. This is such a unique season for us. I have no idea what to expect going forward. I have no idea what to expect going forward.
Yeah, me either.
What do you think our record is over the next 4 games?
What? Just let everyone know who they are again.
Okay, yeah, I'll read it off. It will take me 10 seconds to pull up the schedule, though. We got the Nuggets on the road on the 4th. They're banged up. That's a game we should win. I'll be frustrated if we lose that game because they've been without Jamal Murray. Is Paul Millsap still out? Yeah, Paul Millsap's out for that game. Michael Porter Jr. is day-to-day. Mason Plumlee's back? I thought Mason Plumlee wasn't supposed to be back by now. He might be missing off the injury report. I think Mason Plumlee's out too. So they're banged up, right? Whiteside has been playing great basketball. I'm looking forward to him against Jokic. I think we should win that game, man. And then after that, we play the Spurs at home. That's a game we should win. Then we play the Jazz on the road, then the Heat at home. Unless we fall back down to earth, I expect 3-1 over this stretch, which is crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. So after the stretch, we'd be what? 26-28? Then 13 of our next 17 games after that are against losing teams. So say we go 13-4 over that stretch. Maybe we lose a game to a losing team and win a game against a winning team, whatever. That would leave us at, just doing some math here, 39-32. And then we'd have 11 games left. I mean, that could put us in a position, we'd be 7 games over 500. I mean, obviously that's if we, don't fall back down to earth. And Dame's going to still have to play amazing basketball. This is just all hypotheticals. I'm just looking at the schedule. 7 games above 500 would put us right there for the 7th seed, I think.
For chat, we're actually only a game and a half out of 8 spot right now, about 2.5.
Yeah, and we're a much better team than Memphis. Man, I'd love to win all 4 of the next game. Like all of the next 4 games though, honestly, because it's just funny looking back to 4 games ago, thinking, oh dude, this 8-game stretch is so hard. We're 4-0, man. I'm expecting us to go 7-1 on this stretch. If you told me we would have if you told me we'd start 4-0 on the stretch, I would have probably reached out through my webcam and slapped you.
Yeah, especially considering going into last night how emotional that was, and then having to come home and play a rested Jazz team at home.
And they looked the Blazers looked sluggish coming into tonight's game too.
Yeah.
They started off down 10 points.
Yeah, they got down. I think it was 13 at one point. It was 34-21, I think, and then we finished the quarter. It was like 34-33 or something like that. We went on a huge run.
That run was huge too, because if we didn't make that run, we would have been battling back, and who knows how like the morale and the mood of the team is battling back the entire game. You know what I mean? Like that run was huge just to cut that to within one, just completely erase the lead that the Jazz built in the first quarter. You know, we basically woke up, went on that run, and we just had energy for the rest of the game. We didn't start off with great energy. There was a lapse at the end of the third quarter, I think. Maybe it was the end of the second. I think it was the end of the third quarter. We did have a lapse in energy and kind of let them climb back in it. But overall, we controlled this game against a very good team. A team that can give us some problems, too, because Conley always kills us. Ingles always kills us. Donovan Mitchell is kind of turning into a guy that, we struggle to defend. So I don't know, man. It was just a phenomenal win.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be talking about a blowout victory over the Jazz tonight.
I mean, I didn't think we'd be talking about a victory over the damn Los Angeles Lakers after everything that's happened. After what happened last Sunday. So,
Clays wants to know what Melo's plus minus was. He was +9, so not bad. But the rest of the starters, Dame was +17, Whiteside +20, Ariza +20, McCollum +14.
Yeah, let's look at the rest of the box score because we've talked about Dame, we've raved about Dame. But Whiteside 7 for 10. He had 17 points, 21 rebounds, and 3 blocks. We'll talk about him in a little bit after I go through this box score. But Whiteside, that's gonna be a conundrum, man. He's making it tougher, and it's God, it's like. I love that he's playing well, but also it's just going to make things tougher, and it's going to make it more likely we keep him, but, dude, it's just, don't want to give up, I don't know. The reason I want to give up Whiteside is not because of him as a player, it's just because of, our roster construction situation, the types of players we have, and, trying to get those 3-and-D, elite 3-and-D wings in the future, or, another all-star. So that's, trading Whiteside will help us do that in the future. But it definitely is hard to give up a guy that's playing how he's playing, especially when you don't know what Nurk is going to be, especially when you have a bunch of question marks, and God, he's making it tough, man. Yeah. God, dude, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, we'll have you covered on the trade deadline. I don't even know, man. The way the team is played and the way he's played is just frazzled my brain in terms of me trying to think about the trade deadline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
wish maybe we're looking at it wrong. Maybe we should be looking at more players like Hood last year versus making a big trade. Yeah. Because we could still bring in a difference maker with maybe a diamond in the rough type guy with potential, but
I mean, let me just say this: if we're trying to actually make a run this year, we need to replace Anthony Simons in the rotation. If we're dead set on making a run this year, and if we keep Hassan Whiteside, we're dead set on making a run this year. If that's the case, we need to trade for a backup guard because Anthony's had flashes, but he's not ready to help us win a playoff series. He's a little bit of a detriment. Once we get our bigs healthy, he's going to be by far the worst player in our rotation. So Gary Trent Jr. I think is a solid NBA player at this point. I think he's a solid bench player at this point because he's shooting 40% from 3, and he's been playing really good defense, in my opinion. His defense has been such a pleasant surprise. I wasn't high on Gary Trent going into the season. People who have listened to me in the past know that I wasn't super high on Gary Trent. And that was until about a month ago. And then all of a sudden, this dude is just killing it on the defensive end. He slowed down James Harden, gave James Harden fits, picked his pocket once or twice, knocking down threes, making the right play, shooting with confidence but not forcing things. Gary Trent Jr. looks like a solid role player.
So everyone in chat right now, yeah, like I love D Rose. He'd be really good on this team. Same with Bogdanovich, who we've talked about for a lot from Sacramento. But please explain to me how we can get those guys if you guys want to keep Whiteside. And so who are we trading for these guys?
Yeah,
how do we get the contracts to match up? So this is why Tori says it's a conundrum, because we can't really, since we've traded Bazemore now, we're not going to trade Ariza. He's been like vital to this resurgence here. So like we'd have to trade like minimum salary for minimum salary, so we can't really match anyone making $7 to $15 million. So like, I mean, all that stuff is out of question. Like, there's no way to get to there.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about like a 4-for-1 or a 3-for-1, where you're saying like Trent, Hazonia, and Simons, or Trent, Little, and Hazonia or something, and a pick.
But then if you trade, Swan. Oh yeah, you can't combine Swanigan to match salary. Yeah, so and that's the thing, is you're not going. I don't know. I wouldn't want to give up Trent and Little for Derrick Rose or for Bogdanovich. That doesn't make sense.
And Denthor, unfortunately, the trade exception cannot be combined, and it's too small for D Rose by like $200,000. So you have to have someone under I think it's $7.169 million, and D Rose makes like 7.3 something. So like basically, Clays, you can't trade. I think that's what you meant to say, but yeah, okay. But yeah, so like for all you people who say we can't trade Whiteside, but you want to make all these trades and get all these other players, you can't do that.
That's why we're in a tough spot. That's why we're put in a tough spot because the team is playing great. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been a lot easier to trade Whiteside if the team was still struggling. But now it's like, okay, if we're trying to make a run, man, would you rather have Derrick Rose instead of Anthony Simons, and then Scal as your backup center instead of Whiteside, or would you rather have Whiteside instead of Scal, and then Simons instead of Derrick Rose? You know what I mean? Like, that's basically what you have to weigh if you're really trying to make a run. Because if we keep Whiteside and then Collins gets back, like, Scal will be in the rotation for a little bit, but then if Collins gets back, Melo is not good at the three. Melo would struggle at the three.
No,
Melo
that
is
would be a disaster.
That would be a disaster. He does not have the foot speed, the quickness. That would be a defensive disaster. So you have Nurkic and Whiteside covering the center minutes, 24 minutes per game or whatever. Then you have Collins and Melo covering power forward. We wouldn't have enough minutes for Scal, so Scal wouldn't even play. But he's a much better player at this point than Anthony Simons.
You might as well not re-sign him if you do that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but Scal's a much better player than Anthony Simons, so it results in just like you have a log jam of front court players and not enough top level depth in the backcourt in order to be as good of a team as possible going into the playoffs if this team is trying to make a run. So that's why we're stuck, is because keep Whiteside so we can make a run. Yeah, but we need to upgrade that backup point guard spot then, because Anthony Simons will not get it done. I like him playing for the developmental aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't check him out of the rotation right now. The team's been fine with him right now, been winning with him right now. He actually had a solid game tonight. You just can't trust him going into the playoffs. So if you're really trying to beat like an LA Lakers team that's healthy, which is a very tall task, you can't have a liability like that. So that's the problem we're in.
So real quick, Clay's Bogdan makes like 10, 11 million. So he's right in that range we were talking about. And Josh Christensen, you're one of the guys who has been beating on us on Twitter, I think, for wanting to trade Whiteside, right? And Matthew Dellavedova makes like 9 million plus. So how are we going to get Dellavedova if that's your answer? I mean, that's a questionable player to pursue anyway. But
that's the thing.
Like, you want him. How do we get him? Like, please explain to me how we get $9 million without trading Whiteside.
That's the thing, man. A lot of people that will like tell me like, "Oh, you can't trade Whiteside." What are you talking about? Why would we trade Whiteside? We're playing great right now. Have Whiteside as the backup. Keep Whiteside. But I feel like they haven't thought through like our options, not only this year, but going into next year as well with like the contracts we have and how we could possibly upgrade the team. So that's the thing. Is like, I hate when people say that to me and then say, "Oh, we should go out and trade for this guy," but we basically have to trade Whiteside for them. So it's like you're contradicting yourself while trying to tell me that you don't know what I'm talking about. Not that Josh said that. I've just heard that from other people. Because Josh is fine in my book, but I've heard that from other people. I've had that said to me by other people, and it's just like, you can't do both. You know what I mean? That's the problem. That is 100% the problem. So, I mean, maybe we could sort something out around Scow and Hazonia, but that's not a ton of salary going out, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, so Scow makes $2.34 million. Hazonia makes $1.74. So let me do the math on how much that could bring back. The
only thing, I mean, you're talking like maybe a Mikal Bridges type if you throw in picks or something, maybe. I wouldn't mind that, but like I don't know how else to get a little higher on those.
4.17 times 1.25 plus 0.1. So if we send out Scow and Hazonia together, the most we could bring back is a little over $5.3 million. I kind of rounded on them, so just say $5.3 million or so. That's not gonna get you a lot of options. Hood's contract last year was like $4 million, so maybe it might get you a guy like that. Maybe you go out and get a Denzel Valentine. That honestly seems like an Olshey type of option, and he's been a solid 3-point shooter, but I think you need a third ball handler. And because Gary Trent Jr., yeah, you could stagger CJ to have him play point guard with the bench and then run Gary Trent Jr. at shooting guard and Denzel Valentine at small forward or whatever. I just think you need a ball handler. I think you need ball handler maybe with some size too, but I don't know. I think you need a third ball handler with that lineup, or else you don't have enough ball handling. So that's the problem we're in.
Yeah. How much does Chris Dunn make? Isn't he in that $7 million range too? I'd have to look this up.
I'll look it up right now. I got you.
Chris Dunn isn't like I don't know. He's not a good enough playmaker. Like I feel like we need a playmaker, someone who can
just an all around guard.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be fine defensively, but I feel like we need someone who can take some of the scoring punch, like through the second unit.
And Labissiere and Hazonia doesn't match Chris Dunn. I mean, we could absorb Chris Dunn with the traded player exception.
Right.
The thing is, we do have that traded player exception, which is $7 million. But the thing is, a lot of players make over that, and I'm not sure we'll want to take on. We created that traded player exception while also saving some salary. I don't think Jody will want to take that on. So I'm thinking save that traded player exception, and whatever we trade for, we should match them so we don't take on too much salary. So it's just a tough spot that we're in. It's just a very tough spot. And the thing is, with the way Whiteside's playing right now, I think he's just making it tough on the front office, and I still think we should trade Whiteside. But if the front office sees a way where we could keep Whiteside and then still somehow be able to match salary for somebody making $25 million or $30 million next season without gutting our roster, then maybe you could talk me into like not absolutely not hating keeping Hassan Whiteside. You know what I mean? The problem is next year, guys, is if we keep Hassan Whiteside, we're going to have to re-sign him for multiple years to bring him back. We're going to have to probably overpay him a little bit to bring him back as a backup. And if he's on a multi-year contract, making over like $10 million a year, I don't think a team is going to want that contract. So if we're trying to match salary for a big name player that might come available, Whiteside's contract would make it a lot harder to get that deal done, where we'd have to like give up a guy like Little just to get the team to take on Whiteside's contract, if that makes sense. We'd have to combine like Whiteside and Ariza. I don't know. It makes it a lot harder to to trade for a guy making $25 or $30 million a year next year if we keep Whiteside, because if we re-sign him to a 1-year deal, he'll have no trade clause, so that's not really an option. If we re-sign him to a multi-year deal, team probably doesn't want that contract. And then outside of Dame, CJ, and Nurk, the only decent-sized contract we'd have is Trevor Ariza making $13 million. And then maybe we'd also have a mid-level exception guy, but, if we re-sign Whiteside, that might only have to be the taxpayer mid-level exception, which would be like $6 million. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just the numbers, the math is tough if we keep Whiteside.
I feel like it's going to be all good this summer. He'll resign, and then S will hit the fan next year when they realize that they're both being underpaid and they're both not getting minutes and they're not going to get as much money on their next contract because they're not getting to play as many minutes as they want. And then it's going to become a problem, and then you're stuck with 2 or 3 more years of Whiteside under contract, Nurk still under contract for 2 more years, and Whiteside's basically untradeable because he's back to having his attitude problems, and people have forgotten this season. And,
and then people are frustrated that he's on a multi-year contract making $12 to $15 million a year.
And then these same people will bring up like, oh, Olshey should have traded Whiteside.
He kept him just for us to get into the playoffs as an 8th seed and lose the first round to the Lakers or something. You know what I mean? Like that's my worry, is it's going to be like that, and then people are going to forget that they wanted to keep Whiteside, and they're going to act like Olshey was dumb for keeping Whiteside. I agree with that, man. It's just I don't envy Olshey's position here.
So Ron Myers and Den Third was leading this charge earlier about trading Nurk.
Man, he doesn't.
Nurk has no trade value right now because he's coming off a severe injury. So you're basically just trading his contract, unless like a team really wanted him for a star, like say Karl Anthony Towns or something. Yeah. It makes no sense to trade Nurk because he's so much more valuable to us if he comes back than he would be in a trade. And then on top of that, you have him locked up. We talked about this after last game. We have him locked up for 2 more years after this one at a great rate. Whiteside, we could trade Nurk, and then Whiteside could still leave. He's not obligated. We don't have rights to match any offers for him, so Whiteside could still bounce this offseason. Who knows if you could take him at his word. He seems to like playing here. I doubt he would leave, but you could get in a situation where he bounces, takes a bigger offer somewhere else, and before we even have a chance to talk to him about it, and then we're left with neither of them. That's actually a possibility. So, what happens if Atlanta comes and offers him like $25 million a year, and he's like, "Oh crap, I'll take that right away," and not even talk to us during free agency?
Yeah, and then we'd be left with. I mean, I guess at that point, then Zach Collins would be the starting center, but who would be the power forward? Like, we'd be kind of screwed. We'd lose both our centers. We wouldn't get proper value for Nurkic, most likely, and then we would risk losing Whiteside, or we might have to overpay him, and then he might decline because Whiteside isn't young either. So the franchise is not in an easy spot here. And part of the reason why they're not in an easy spot is they made that fantastic trade of trading Myers Leonard and Maurice Harkless for Hassan Whiteside, which was a fantastic trade. Like, some fans at the start of the season were freaking out at Whiteside for some reason, thinking that wasn't a fantastic trade all of a sudden, but that was a fantastic trade. And then you look at Olshey turned Evan Turner into Trevor Ariza and Wenyen Gabriel, who I think has a lot of potential, and he did have to trade 2 second-round picks, but I think that's a good series of events there. I mean, Olshey's made some good moves, but now it's just put him in a position where he has a really tough decision to make, and he needs to have a plan for the next year and a half, because the deal he makes now, whatever he does at this deadline is going to affect us a year and a half from now. So he has to have a plan in place in order to deal with the repercussions of whatever he does at this year's trade deadline.
Robbie Stacks wants Iggy. Why would Iggy agree to play here when he's not playing on Memphis, who's ahead of us in the standings right now. Like I just don't think he wants to play in LA, and he's not going to accept anything other than that.
I mean, maybe you could convince him to play for a team like a Milwaukee, or maybe if he got bought out, maybe Philadelphia, where he started his career, maybe a team like that, but not Portland. Iguodala has never been an option, and I mean, trading Whiteside for Iguodala wouldn't make sense either. You know what I mean? Memphis isn't going to want Whiteside. They got Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, and Valanciunas, and those three guys have been a terrific front court so far this season, and they're all relatively young. So there's no point in. You're not going to get value back there. That's the thing, man. There's not really. If there was a playoff team out there that really needed a center and had the contracts to match Whiteside, I'd be looking at that team like, here you go, Hassan Whiteside. Look what he's done this year. You know what I mean? The problem is there's also some centers available, though. Like a Drummond is available. So that's the thing, is there's other centers available that team could have opted to go with. But Whiteside's production is maybe worth 2 late first-round picks. If a contending team was like on the verge of contending and just had a weakness at the center spot and just needed a rim protector. You know what I mean? Like, the problem is just there not much lines up. So I don't even know, man. There's so many like variables that go into this year's trade deadline,
and Clay's is mentioning the Hood taking less money. Again, he was basically promised a starting spot to take less money. He wasn't told, oh, hey, we already have Damian Lillard, and you're a point guard, you can only play like 20 minutes a game, sorry. But accept less money and stay here, please, and be happy that you're even getting a contract to stay with us. Like, Hassan doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's gonna be like, oh, I just had this amazing year. Oh, yeah, I'll love to sign for less money with you guys and back up Nurkic. That sounds great. Yeah. Oh, maximum of 24 minutes a game when I'm playing this well? Yeah, sign me up for that. Do you think he seems like the type of guy who will be fine in that situation? If you do, fine. Like, that's cool. I just don't want to take that risk.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. 100% agree on that, man. That's... God, dude, it's hard to even put this into like proper perspective because there's so much to it. And what's your prediction for the deadline though? What do you think actually happens?
I think I'm gonna be right when I said the other day is that they're gonna be overcautious with Nurt because of this calf strain, and they're gonna use that to justify them not being able to trade Hassan.
I mean, yeah.
Oh,
if we, the only, I think the best case scenario if we end up not trading Hassan would be something that isn't like that realistic, but it would be to sign and trade him elsewhere this offseason and get back some salary. Even if it's not for like a useful player, that salary would be helpful in terms of like matching contracts next year at the trade deadline or whatever. Honestly, something that could make sense is a Whiteside for Bogdanovich sign and trade. Because, I mean, Sacramento likes Rashawn Holmes, but I don't think they view him as like a legitimate starting center if they're really trying to get a legitimate starting center. Maybe they'd like Whiteside. Or maybe you could get creative and trade Whiteside somewhere, and they trade something to Sacramento and re-bring in Bogdanovich. Basically, like, the only way I see it like panning out for us in a positive way for us keeping Whiteside is if it helps us do something this summer where we sign and trade Whiteside elsewhere.
Yeah, honestly, I cringe anytime someone mentions sign and trade.
I know. That's why I said it wasn't that realistic.
Especially a sign and trade for a sign and trade. And I know like several of them happened this last offseason, but you just had all these really weird, rare circumstances where Rozier signs with Charlotte and Kemba signs with Boston. So they like, instead of just signing them outright during the after the moratorium's over, you just agree to a sign and trade, and it saves like some salary issues and stuff like that. So, but like, in order for that to happen, like let's just say the Sacramento thing was like our dream scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Bogdanovich would have to agree to sign with Portland. Whiteside would have to agree to sign with Sacramento. Both Sacramento would want to have Whiteside and trade him for Bogdanovich, and we'd want to have Bogdanovich and trade him for Whiteside, which could all make sense, but like all of those things have to happen.
Or, I mean, like, you should, let me just put this disclaimer out there. You should never have a sign and trade as part of like your plan, as like part of like, okay, well, I'm going to keep him and I'm going to sign and trade him this offseason. That's not what you should do because it's not realistic enough. There's a bunch of factors that go into it that you shouldn't like plan to happen. But something you could do, Eric, is if there's a team that wants to sign and trade for Whiteside, or even if they have cap space, you could let Whiteside sign with that team. You could basically sign and trade him to that team. Maybe you give that team cap if they have. Can a team with cap space sign and trade for someone? Have somebody sign and trade it to them?
It basically that makes no sense. I don't know why.
I mean,
why would they do
Portland would do the sign and trade so that Whiteside was outgoing salary, and they would incentivize the team with cap space to take Whiteside on in a sign and trade by giving them maybe a second round pick or cash or whatever, so that Portland could use that as outgoing salary and then bring in somebody else.
But the team would have to match outgoing salary if they're under the cap. Why wouldn't they just sign him and not have to give up players?
No,
and
you're not understanding what I'm saying. So say, who's a team with cap? Say Atlanta, right? Say Atlanta wants to sign Hassan Whiteside to 3 years, $45 million, $15 million a year, right? They have cap space; they could do it outright. But Portland says, "Hey, could we sign and trade him to you? You don't have to give up anything, but we'll give you $5 million cash, or we'll give you a second round pick or two." So that we could orchestrate Whiteside to you guys on the deal you want him on. So we could orchestrate Whiteside as a sign and trade to you guys, where you guys don't have to give up anything meaningful back. You know, you incentivize them to take on Whiteside in a sign and trade instead of just signing him outright. And then Whiteside's $15 million of outgoing salary, and you'd orchestrate that as like a 3-team trade where you bring in somebody via trade from elsewhere, or maybe sign and trade for somebody else. Like, is that possible?
I think it's weird because like how when we traded Layman, his salary didn't count fully and we only got like a minimum trade exception and all that stuff. I think it's, if you trade to a team with cap space, I think it works differently. I'm not exactly
with Layman,
sure, but
it was that he was a restricted free agent. I believe that factored into that. But I mean that they could get creative, which like I don't think O'Shea would be creative enough, but you could get creative. If a team is over the cap and wants Whiteside, you could sign and trade Whiteside to their team, and then Whiteside's contract would count as some sort of outgoing salary. Who knows how much? But then you could bring in Bogdanovich. So it wouldn't have to be Sacramento agreeing to take on Whiteside. It could be any other team out there in the league agreeing to bring in Whiteside via sign and trade. We sign and trade Whiteside out. That count as outgoing salary, which would match the incoming salary of us sign and trading for Bogdanovich.
Yeah, but like more likely what would happen is Whiteside would just sign, and then he'd already have signed, so we can't do anything, and
I mean,
it would be over.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if there's a team over the cap, that's forget a team under the cap. I was just wondering. That was just a CBA question. That was a curiosity of mine. If you could sign and trade somebody to a team that had cap space, which I assume you could, but I don't know. But like if a team's over the Boston Celtics, they're over. I mean, but they don't really have the salary match. I'm trying to think of a hypothetical here. If there's a playoff team out there that wants a starting center, maybe Dallas or whatever, and they have an expiring contract. I don't know. Yeah, you can get creative with sign and trade, so they're just not realistic. I can tweet out some hypotheticals in the future because it's hard to explain, and I'd need to like look at some things. But it'd take creativity, and it's not something that you should account for. But basically, back to my overall point, the only way I see keeping Whiteside panning out for us long term, it'd help us this year. But long term, the only way I see it panning out is if we sign and trade him somewhere and get something back. Whether it's in a 3-team trade, creative 3-team trade somehow, or like for example, a Whiteside to Sacramento and we bring back Bogdanovich, something like that. Unless it's something like that, then it ends up either Whiteside walking or we re-sign Whiteside on a multi-year overpaid deal, and then we can't trade him, and then he might end up unhappy not playing enough. You know what I mean? So lots of options, but hopefully you guys kind of understand what I'm saying with that. Do you understand what I'm saying with that or no?
Yeah, like I said, I just cringe anytime someone mentions sign and trade. Like I just shut it off. I mean, it's just so hard to do.
I'm not recommending that we keep Whiteside so that we can sign and trade him. I cringe at that too, because people say, "Oh, let's just keep Whiteside and then we can just sign and trade him." They make it sound so simple. No, it's not simple. It's not a likely scenario. It's not a likely scenario. But I'm simply saying that's the best case scenario. Out of all the scenarios out there, that's the best case scenario if we keep him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I hope you're right.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. It's just a super tough situation, man. It's giving me a headache trying to like think about all the scenarios, all the possibilities, but I feel like my prediction, we're going to keep Whiteside. We're not going to make another trade. Then Whiteside either leaves or stays on a 3-year contract in free agency. Then we don't have enough assets at next year's trade deadline, so we might make a small minimal trade, like a Rodney Hood type trade, but that'll be it. And people will say, "Oh, O'Shea just didn't have the assets, didn't have the contracts to go out there and get the All-Star or the All-Star caliber player that was traded for a pick or two in expiring contracts. O'Shea just didn't have enough expiring contracts." And I'll be sitting there like, well, that's what I was saying. We should have traded Hassan Whiteside for a 2-year contract, so that contract would be expiring, and we could have combined him with Ariza and acquired an all-star that could have taken us to contention. You know what I mean? Like, that is my prediction, is we keep Hassan Whiteside and make stuff tough next year, and then we barely do anything this offseason, then we barely do anything next year. And we kind of just get stuck in the same plane.
There's two... Well, keeping Whiteside, I guess we'd assume we get the 8 seed, right? Or higher. We make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So we're probably going to like the 15 to 18 range, probably picks. But so that's the wild card, is if you hit a home run on a draft pick, or if you get someone really valuable with the mid-level exception. I
mean, yeah,
like
you can
a rotation level player. So like you'd have to hit on one of those two in order to make up for that. But yeah,
I mean, but like you shouldn't plan on that because that's not like entirely realistic. You know what I mean? So in terms of like trying to plan our future, I mean, like Nasir Little could blow up into an all-star, and that could be what we need to take us to contention. But that's not likely. So that's not something we should plan for. I've been trying to like plan out our best course of action. It's tough, man.
Russell, first round exit Westbrook, says, "I don't care if Nurk can't play 4. I will make him play 4 if it means keeping Hassan." So like you'd make us lose every game on purpose. Like,
oh my god,
we get abused. Like they just get pick and rolled to death, and you can't do that in today's NBA. It just
nope.
It can't work.
Nope. You wouldn't have enough spacing inside the rim or around the rim. You would not have enough spacing. When Dame drives, he'd get smothered because you'd have two bigs that don't really shoot outside of 5 feet. And then one of them would be having to match up against guys like LeBron and out there against guys like Paul George, Kawhi, whatever. Like a lot of these elite wings play some power forward. And they'd get absolutely abused on defense. They would go from being a really, really good rim protector, both of them, to a really bad defender at the power forward position.
What are you doing against Dallas?
Exactly.
This year. So one of them takes Kleber, and then the other one's guarding like Luka, or like who are they?
Yeah, because Luka plays some small ball 4, and people say, "Oh, we'll just abuse them inside," but it's not that simple when you got two of them in there. when Porzingis is in the game at center, Porzingis can lock up the rim, and those guys don't really shoot except for around the rim. So you couldn't really abuse them inside either, since it just clogged things up too much.
Josh Christensen, they didn't play Porzingis and Kleber together at all. They only rotated them in and out. So they only had one of them in the game. And in fact, did you watch any of that Houston Dallas game before the Laker game last night? The Lakers or the Rockets were out without Capella, and they played all guards basically the whole game. They didn't play one big man the entire game.
And they won. Yeah, no. Whiteside and Nurkic can't play. Neither of them can play the 4.
And okay, so I saw an idea. Sorry, I forgot who said it. I'll go scroll up a little bit, see if I can find it. It was by Bo Lee. He says just have one play 28 minutes one game and 20 the other for the other guy, and then rotate them that way, keep them fresh and all that stuff. These are NBA players who think they're superstars. They're not going to be like, oh, you know what? I would really like to only play 20 minutes next game. That'll be great with me because my pal Whiteside will get the 28 minutes instead of me. NBA players don't think that way. They think they are the best players in the world. They are not going to want to share time with someone like that. Yeah. Most players are not built like that.
They're both top 10 centers, in my opinion. You're not going to...
And we're both ignoring, or anyone who says that is ignoring that both of them in their last team they were on were both in similar situations, and both of them through major fits and had attitude problems and were not happy, and those teams basically gave those players away. Denver had to give a first-round pick to us to take Nurkic on just to get him off the team because he was such a problem. And now all of a sudden they're going to be happy sharing the same center position and everything's going to be roses. And I just don't buy that. Yeah, I would be extremely happy if that worked out and they were fine and they were best buds forever and they had this new thing and yeah, it's just I just don't see it happening. I mean, I'd love for it to be that way, but it's not going to work.
As Jake Carey said, that's not even considering that Zach Collins might be the best option at center versus certain teams in certain situations. I 100% agree. You're not. Zach Collins would have to play.
That's been my point for 2 weeks now.
Collins would have to play full-time power forward, even though that's the thing. If you go up against a perimeter-oriented team with perimeter-oriented bigs that Nurk kind of struggles against, then you could play Collins at center. You know what I mean? You could play Collins at center against those lineups since he's a mobile big who can also protect the rim. So he would do. That's the type of situation you want Collins playing center in. But if you have Hassan there and you already struggle to get them enough minutes for both of them, You're what, going to play Hassan Whiteside 15 minutes and just to play Collins, because that's what makes sense in terms of matchups? And you think Whiteside's going to be happy with that? You know what I mean? It creates a lot of problems. Creates a lot of problems if we end up keeping Hassan Whiteside. It's good for the rest of this year, but long term, it's not the right move. And that's the thing. It's with how good the team's playing, now people are starting to really value, oh, we could make a run this year. Look how this team looks. And it's yeah, this team looks good, but, oh, man, still don't know if we can get past 8th. I'm not confident in us beating the Los Angeles Lakers in a first-round series and beating AD and LeBron, especially since the refs are going to let those guys hack the hell out of us, especially because it's playoffs and the Lakers storyline, you know what I mean? So I still think it's the most likely scenario we don't make it out of the first round. And then we basically screw ourselves up long term because we kept Whiteside. It's not that's not the ideal thing to me.
So first of all, Ron Myers said that Zach fouls too much to play center or something like that. He averages 4.6 fouls in his career per 36 minutes. So he doesn't even foul out. I think he's fouled out in 3 games in his career, but that's some sort of narrative that he's always fouling out of games and always in foul trouble and stuff like that. Yes, he does have foul issues sometimes, getting too quick fouls, stuff like that. But like he's played 3 games in his 3rd year. Like we don't know how much he progressed to. Like that could have been different this year, and it wasn't. Like I said, 4.6 fouls per 36 is not fouling out. So it's just driving me crazy.
I hope Russell first round exit Westbrook is trolling with that lineup. He says, but hear me out. Dame at point guard, Melo at shooting guard, Collins a small forward, Nurkic at power forward, Whiteside at center. How is that not a god tier team? Are you being serious, or are you joking? Is that a I can't tell.
And then
yeah, okay, good. See, some people might. I've actually seen some people seriously suggest that. That's why I had to ask if you were joking, because some people seriously think that'd be a good idea.
And then Ron Myers also said that he said that we're not giving Dame enough credit for like his locker room leadership and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. And like this year, like even if Nurk comes back, like I completely agree that that's fine to have them both play. But going into a season, re-signing someone for what's going to cost at least probably 10 million, probably closer to 15 million, if not more. Like I just don't see how those two are going to be happy with that, no matter what Dame said.
We haven't even really. I mean, I discussed it a little bit earlier, but this whole thing, like, we're not even taking into account at the moment the fact that we need contracts to match salary next year if we want to possibly bring in that guy that would get us to contention. You know, a Tobias Harris level guy who's available for, I think it was like 1 or 2 first-round picks and only expiring contracts last year just because teams wanted the Clippers wanted to free up cap space for that upcoming free agency. The free agent class of 2021 is really, really strong, so there's going to be teams that might be possibly looking to trade an all-star caliber forward for some expiring contracts and maybe a couple assets, you know, a pick or 2, maybe a prospect thrown in there, whatever. That's what we need in order to get this team to be the best possible team possible. Porzingis is another example of that too. Tobias Harris and Porzingis got traded for 2 first-round picks and expiring contracts. That was from New York to Dallas last year. There's probably not going to be any deals like that this year. The 2020 free agent class is not that strong, but 2021 is when you'll probably see teams doing that because that free agent class is tremendous. I need to look at a list again, but I know Giannis is out there. There's a couple other guys out there. Just some really good targets. So what would be a travesty is if we couldn't match salary for a Tobias Harris level player who we could have gotten on a discount, but we didn't have the salaries to match. Because right now, if we keep Whiteside, I don't think Whiteside will end up being a trade asset next year because he'll either be on a 1-year contract, have no trade clause, he'll be on a multi-year contract that teams won't want, or he'll walk. So outside of Dame, Nurkic, and CJ, we only have Ariza. So it's not literally, it's not just the fact that you're probably not going to be able to keep those guys happy. You'd only have to play Collins at power forward. You can't play Nurkic and Whiteside together. You can't play him enough minutes. But it's also, how can we take that next step and get that forward that we need? Because we wouldn't have the assets if we keep Whiteside.
That's why I say if you keep Hassan, you have to make a move. I've already brought his name up, but Mikal Bridges or some sort of wing player that has a pop potential. You already have one of those guys maybe in Little on your roster. Mm-hmm. But like you just have to get someone who could possibly be the answer there. So like just get rid of Hazonia and get his contract off the books next year and bring in someone. I mean, if it's like a Jonah Bolden or like they have 2 guys on the Sixers, Jonah Bolden and Zaire Smith, both still on their rookie deals. And one's played 14 minutes this year, the other's played 13 minutes this year. Like just find a guy like a diamond in the rough type to add to this roster for next year. Or you have to hit a home run either with your draft pick or your mid-level exception. You have to convince someone that taking somewhere between $6 and $10 million is worth it joining this team because they're the missing piece or something, and it's kind of a weak free agent class. So you have to get lucky there. I'm hoping as time goes on, more and more people want to play with Dame, but you never know how that works out in free agency when everyone has a mid-level exception, so you're competing against every team. But yeah, like it's still possible to be really good next year if we keep Hassan. It's just the margin for error on any of these moves are really thin compared to if you had another good player in place already heading into the season, or contracts that were easily tradable for getting good players. It just opens up and makes it so much more flexible to add to that roster if your moves during the summer aren't great.
I gotta shut this down because I see people like, oh, it's a good idea. Michael Ranella said Hassan Whiteside for Montrezl Harrell and a pick. Okay, not only would the Clippers not even trade Harrell for Whiteside straight up, they would not do that. But also, it doesn't come close to working financially. They would have to...
We basically can't trade with the Clippers.
Why?
For Whiteside.
Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't make sense. They got Zubac and Harrell. They're not going to move one of those guys.
Well, they might move Zubac, but...
Zubac has been underrated this year. But yeah, so,
we can't get Harkless back, so I guess it would have to be a 3-team trade, but, like... but yeah, like, Harkless is, like, halfway to Whiteside almost, so, like... You're talking about what other contracts are you adding? Because they're not going to put Paul George or Kawhi Leonard in there. So, like, how?
Yeah, I didn't even want to go in like that. I just wanted to shut down the whole Montrezl Harrell for Hassan Whiteside thing. Montrezl Harrell on a pick. The Clippers would laugh that off the phone, but then also Montrezl Harrell only makes like $6 million. The Clippers would have to trade out $21.5 million to bring back Hassan Whiteside. So, that would not work. Should we try to overpay Fred VanVleet to upgrade Ant? How would we pay Fred VanVleet? How would we overpay him, Corey?
Yeah, the most we could offer him is like $9 million, and that's not gonna happen.
That's not gonna be an overpay. So I don't understand how we don't.
WTF man says they're keeping Hassan. You got to understand this is Dame's prime years. No way in hell they trade him. So basically what we've been saying all along is that if you do that, you're basically saying that making the playoffs this year is more important than possibly contending in future years. And like, that's fine if that's your stance and you agree with that. Like, that's fine. Like, I just don't know if that's the right play.
I hate that argument because it in my opinion lowers the chance we ever win a championship with Damian Lillard because of the issues it caused us in the future. And keeping Hassan Whiteside as like playing 24 minutes per game with Nurk in the playoffs or whatever, and not playing Scal like as the AC of the Los Angeles Clippers, like we're probably going to lose that series if we keep Hassan Whiteside. I still don't think we make it out of the first round. But we severely lower our chances of being able to make a move in the future that could take us to contention. So everybody talking about, oh, it's Dame prime years. They're not going to trade away Whiteside this year. It's like, well, aren't the next 4 years after this Dame's prime years too? Like, do we not care? Do we care more about this year than the next 4 years combined? Like, you know what I'm saying?
There are trades that you could make to help this year and next year too. Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. I mean, Dame could still score 50 points and we could win these games whether we have Whiteside or not. I mean, yeah, Whiteside's helping a lot right now. I'm not trying to downplay his role in all this because he's been phenomenal, but like, there are possibly deals we could do to where we're not giving up on this season and we're not sacrificing future years to win this year either.
I wonder. Okay, so here's a trade idea I just came up with. I I don't think this team would do it, but I've come up with this in the past too. I still think the best option out there at this point, and it's not even that realistic. I don't know. It's just tough because there's not a lot of playoff teams that need a center. But maybe you could convince Toronto to give you Serge Ibaka and a first-round pick for Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, I don't know if they give up a first.
The problem is, I mean, Marc Gasol has not been that good this year. I think Whiteside is better than Ibaka. Let me see how many minutes per game Gasol's been playing. Gasol's been playing 28 minutes per game, so that they would have the same problem with like you can't play either of those guys together. But Marc Gasol's 35 years in age, so maybe they cut his. I don't know. That is the problem. Is neither of those guys can play together, so that's why I don't think it's likely. But that would be a trade. Maybe get a very late first round pick because they're really good. And then Ibaka could play with Nurkic too. And he would be a serviceable backup big. And I don't know. He'd still be expiring this year, so that's still a tough trade. But
yeah, I don't see them doing that.
Yeah.
I just saw. Well, I was looking up to make sure they had all their picks, but I just saw this thing that Detroit's looking for a mid to late lottery pick for Derrick Rose.
Yeah, no.
Not that they'll get that.
No,
but.
I don't. I think that's no. I don't think they'll. I think they'll settle for less than that. I mean, Derrick Rose would be a really good backup guard to have. But how are we gonna match his salary? It's not. I mean, we'd have to. Let me see if it's even possible. It'd have to be like Labissiere and Hazonia and Trent. I don't know if that matches it though. We're $350,000 short, so it'd have to be like the only trade we could put together for Rose that would make sense would be Labissiere, Little, and Hazonia for Derrick Rose.
Yeah, and I
mean, that would make sense for Detroit. You get a really good young prospect in Little. You get a still somewhat young big in Labissiere. Detroit, you might be able to intrigue Detroit with that, but would you do that?
I'm pretty sure Detroit has a full roster too, so they'd have to find a way.
I mean, at that point, they just cut Kyrie Thomas and they probably cut Tim Frazier.
Yeah,
they'd be rebuilding. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, they're like only at like $3,000 away for the tax, which would help them. I just don't know about like cutting players.
Well, I'm just putting it out there for Blazer fans because I know Blazer. You're thinking about this from like, oh, what about Detroit and all their roster spots and that. I love how you immediately go into like, okay, what about their roster spots? What about all the logistics of it? Your mind's geared up to think like that, which that's why you're good at analyzing trades and that stuff. I was just putting it out there for like, okay, it match. That's what it'd have to be. All these Blazer fans that love Nasir Little but also really want Derrick Rose. Would you guys do that? Would you trade Little, Labissiere, and Hazonia for Derrick Rose? Would you do that?
I don't think I would do that.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. I'm too high on Little. Maybe if we got back like a Christian Wood as part of that, then maybe because we could take on Christian Wood with a trade exception. But
and then he leaves in the offseason.
Doesn't he have early bird rights, or is it non-bird rights?
I'm pretty sure it's non. I'll look it up though.
If it's non-bird rights, then he wouldn't be a factor at all. But yeah, that's.
I thought I read non because that I read some article where they were going to have trouble re-signing him even if he wanted to stay. But I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right
now.
Loading.
Eric Kleiser, they're talking about the Otto Porter trade, which I still think is the best option out there because Otto Porter, I think, will be healthy after the trade deadline. It would be phenomenal as a starting four. I think he'd bring Collins off the bench as like the backup center, and he could still get like 20 to 25 minutes per game or whatever. But
what is early bird rights? You're right.
Huh? It is early bird rights?
Yeah, on Wood.
Okay. So we could re-sign him for up to like $9 million a year. So that'd be a...
Although, maybe that was what I read, that if he gets traded, he wouldn't have early bird rights because I think he signed a minimum 1 year deal.
That is. So yeah, that wouldn't matter. But
so yeah,
I still think Whiteside for Otto Porter makes a ton of sense. I mean, if Chicago's trying to make the playoffs, maybe they'd even give up a second-round pick to get off Otto Porter's contract, and maybe they'd want a 3-big lineup with Wendell Carter Jr., who can play either big spot, in my opinion, and then Markkanen and then Whiteside. They'd be pretty complimentary of each other. That'd be a lot like Memphis's front court with Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Brandon Clark. I don't know. But Otto Porter Jr. would be terrific.
Yeah, I agree as long as he's healthy, but dang.
Yeah. Because Clyde said something about that trade. He said the Chicago trade is tough because it's a this year over trade for Otto. I don't know what he means by that. They got no serviceable big that they could trade him. Please don't say Felicio. Well,
but it doesn't have to be from them. Then we could go look at our $7 million because we'd say
go out there and get like Willie Hernangomez or somebody like that. You know what I mean? Like somebody that can play and can provide us with some help. The thing is, Scal should be back after. I mean, it'd just be tough until the All-Star break, but Scal would come back if you got a big back. If you got a big at the trade deadline, you know, like Willie Hernangomez, Scal and Willie Hernangomez, I think that would be serviceable. It wouldn't be great, but it'd be serviceable. And Otto Porter would upgrade power forward. You know.
You know what you could do? Get Aaron Baines. He would fit in the trade exception.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get Otto Porter and Aaron Baines basically for Whiteside, and maybe you probably have to give Phoenix a couple second-round picks or something. But
Kyle Wilson drops a $5 donation. Appreciate the donation, bro. He says, trade suggestion. Portland gets Marcus Morris and Mitchell Robinson for Hassan Whiteside and protected first-round pick. That does not work money-wise for New York, I don't believe. Let me.
And they wouldn't.
They wouldn't do it either.
I seriously doubt they would trade Mitchell Robinson at this point.
Robinson is like a key part of their future. I mean, New York could also send out like Wayne Ellington, who has a team option next year, so his contract isn't guaranteed, and he could be sent out to match salary. But I don't want Marcus Morris. That dude's I don't like Marcus Morris. I've never liked Marcus Morris as like a person. Like I don't like. And then what he said after the whole Memphis Grizzlies thing, I lost even more respect for him. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of Marcus Morris. Like his skill set would fit the team, I guess, but not. I don't know. I don't know why New York would do that because they're a rebuilding team, and then Whiteside would probably leave, and then they would have basically traded Mitchell Robinson for a first round pick in around like, I don't know, 16, 17. But Mitchell Robinson is worth more than a mid-first round pick in what is a weak draft. This year's draft is weak. Mitchell Robinson, if he was a prospect in this year's draft, would go like between 5th and 7th, in my opinion. Maybe even higher than that. Maybe 4th. Like, you'd be up there. So, doesn't make much sense. But appreciate the donation, though. You really want to pay Otto $28 million next year? Yeah, he's an expiring contract. Why not? Because then we could trade him if he's not like living up to it. But he'd be that $28 million expiring contract that we could trade. You know, basically
be like Whiteside right now.
And the thing is, if a team trades for him, they're just valuing his expiring contract. They don't care about him as a player. You know, it was like that with Tobias Harris getting traded to the Sixers, and I forget who they traded to the Clippers for him, but they traded expiring contracts that the Clippers didn't really care about. And when
it was like Wilson Chandler and
And
who the 76ers had gotten that summer for a second-round pick just for taking him on.
yeah. And then DeAndre Jordan was making $20 million expiring contract. Wasn't that great? And the Knicks took it, didn't care that he was making $20 million because he's just an expiring contract. They got him back for Porzingis. So that's the thing, is Otto Porter would be tradable next year and would help us match salary without having to gut our roster. So if he was hurt, if he was not playing well enough, he could still open up some options on the trade market. And if he was playing up to how he's played earlier in his career and he was healthy, he'd be a huge help to this team. A lights-out three-point shooter, and he can defend and make plays here and there and can play either forward spot. So, love how it got into trade talk. Let's talk about – actually, I'm gonna take a 2-minute break, and then when I get back, let's talk about let's look at NBA scores. Let's look at the rest of the box score from tonight. Let's get off this trade talk. I'm going to go get some water real quick, so you're going to carry this for a couple minutes, Eric, and then I'll be back.
Chat's probably going to want to talk trades while you're gone.
You can talk trades. I don't care. When I get back, we're transitioning. So,
Chiefin asks who would be a better fit, LeBron or Kawhi? I would take Kawhi with Dame. That would be amazing. LeBron's phenomenal, obviously, one of the best players of all time, but he's also getting pretty up there in age. Trae Young sprained his ankle tonight. I saw Kyrie also hurt his knee. Or MRI was negative, I guess, but didn't look very good. Robbie Stacks would be cool if Luka's going to be out right about until the All-Star break, so you wonder if Dallas is going to hold him out of that, in which case Dame would most likely get the starting nod, which would be cool. Clay's, I'm assuming you meant to tag me in that. So, starting lineup next year, Dame, CJ, Otto, Melo, Biggie for the next month. So if I would make Chicago take Hazonia, which would open up a roster spot and also give us a $1.7 million trade exception again. We also have a couple of small trade exceptions as well. But yeah, you just go find, like Tori mentioned, Willie Hernan-Gomez. I mentioned Aaron Baines. There's a lot of minimum contract. I mean, Dallas got Willie Cauley-Stein for a late second-round pick. You just have to find a team that's looking to clear a roster spot and get a capable center. Plus, right after the trade deadline is when a lot of teams start to buy out players, so you might see some of these guys getting bought out. Yes, and I would feel bad, and Chief, I agree, I would feel bad trading Hassan to Chicago. But this is the problem we keep talking about, and it keeps going back to, do you keep Whiteside for this year, or do you think about future years? It's just tough. I don't think Jason Jensen's been in this chat to argue with me tonight. What did Michael Ranella say? I really think we should trade Hazonia because he has that player option, so I'm worried he's going to take it next year. So, worst case scenario, trade Hazonia for someone. Oh, yikes. Yeah, Michael Ranella probably too soon for that joke. Not good. Alex Wolf is asking about the candy necklace bet. I like that bet a lot, especially especially since one of us would have to eat it like live on one of our podcasts or something. That'd be easy to do.
That's gonna be our
But
next one.
but yeah, Tori has a couple of things he needs to do first.
I gotta do a blazing wing.
Yeah, and write a rap.
Yeah, no. Well,
I'm just.
I said
with
that
you.
before the end of the season.
I know.
So it's no rush.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta eat a blazing wing. But I also have to have somebody video record it, so I can't just go by myself. I don't know. I'm not gonna go to Buffalo by myself. Also, I don't know if you can only ask for one of those. Can you only ask for one of those? Because I'm not about to order a whole order of them. I'm only gonna eat one.
Well, what I was gonna say is like, because I was at Buffalo Wild Wings that night, so I was just gonna film it if it looked like I was gonna lose. Because if I lost that Boston Orlando game, I probably would have lost. But what I was gonna say is, is there any way if someone orders a blazing wings, could I pay to just have one of them like when you make it? But yeah, usually you have to get, I think, at least 6 or something from there.
I think it might be different with those though. I don't know. I mean, maybe I just order 6 and then throw the rest out. But I saw a tweet that was funny. I think it was John Hollinger said, let me find it. I retweeted it, so let me go to my Twitter.
Chief, and don't confuse blocks with rim protection. Nurk is also one of the best rim protectors in the league, so they're both up there in terms of rim protection. It's not. Yeah, Hassan gets more blocks, but that doesn't necessarily make you a better rim protector.
John Hollinger tweeted, Carmelo has blown up multiple actions by denying wing passes tonight. He said, Whiteside diving on the floor for loose balls. What is happening? I thought that was funny. Especially, somebody on the outside looking in that hasn't paid attention, seeing Carmelo blowing up offensive actions by denying wing passes and Whiteside diving on the floor. Like, that surprised some people. I mean, I was surprised when Whiteside dove on the floor, to be quite honest with you. But a lot of people were saying Damian Lillard and whatever, and CJ quoted that tweet and said culture. So
Clay says he'll be in Vancouver April 1st through the 4th. He'll record it and eat them with you.
I'm trying to do it before then. Honestly, I'm not going to string that out. But if you want to eat one, I don't know. I'll do another bet then. I'll do another bet like right before that then. And one of us will have to eat it. Maybe we'll get you to guest on a podcast, and you can make picks for chat, and then whichever one of us loses, then.
Well, it seems like he likes them.
Really? That's weird. What the hell?
A lot of people like hot food.
Yeah, but like blazing wings, those are hot.
I go to Buffalo Wild Wings with friends that get blazing wings.
That's crazy to me, man. I'm nervous.
Yeah, I know. But...
I don't eat hot stuff like that. Hell no. This is just making me hungry, man. I haven't really eaten today. I had Panda Express earlier today. It was actually good Panda Express, but I'm hungry. You guys are making me hungry. But I can't sign off. We still got 125 people in here, so I owe it to the people to starve for a little bit longer. My chat on my computer is frozen. You guys keep talking food, you're gonna make me hungry, man. I'm gonna get frustrated.
We just need to have a watch party on one of these games coming up, and then someone from chat would order blazing and give you one.
Yeah. I mean, if you organize something, I don't know. That's just like a lot to organize, but
yeah,
that would be dope. I don't know. In the future, definitely we'll do that probably next year, but like once we're bigger.
Some people are really obsessed with watching you eat nachos.
Yeah, I don't understand why that's a thing. You guys are weird, man. But yeah, so gonna look at the rest of the box score and not talk about food. My phone's almost at 2. I got plugged in. Oh, but I'm gonna turn on my PS4 to charge my phone, to plug my phone in, because I got my mic and my webcam plugged into the USB ports on my computer. Hopefully it's not too loud in the background. If it is, you guys can let me know. But I need to charge my phone. So here we go. Looking at the box score. Oh yeah, Super Bowl's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. All right. My Twitter's gonna be taken over by me freaking out tomorrow. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm a Niner fan. So
one thing, someone just mentioned the K-Love trade. That's one thing this has done is squashed all Kevin Love to Portland rumors.
That's true.
I haven't really heard many people talking about that,
true.
so that's been nice.
Yeah.
But now it's gonna happen because like no one's expecting it.
Oh god, man. I feel like this trade deadline is gonna be like so anticlimactic, like for the Blazers and around the league. And on our stream, we're just gonna be like, something happened, please. Nothing happens, and then we're gonna rant a little bit. Anyway, box score tonight. Outside of Dame, I said Whiteside's stat line, then we started talking about him, then that got us into trades for like an hour, I think. Felt like an hour. Carmelo had 15 points, 5 for 17 from the field. Had 5 rebounds, so he struggled tonight, struggled to finish. CJ was 6 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from the three-point line, so decent efficiency for tonight. He had 14 points. Didn't do a whole lot, but just kind of watching the Dame show. You had 7 apiece from Little, Trent, and Simons. Little was 3 for 3, including 1 for 1 from behind the three-point line. His last 3 games, I think he's played. God, let me do the math. Let me do the math for Little because I'm curious. Let me go to Portland Trailblazers scores because he's been really good the last 3 games. Little has, but my phone's being slow. Okay, I gotta go on ESPN for this, I guess. But like I was looking at his stats based on minutes played for the last 3 games is actually really impressive. Let's go here to Portland Trailblazers. Let's go to roster. Let's go to Nasir Little. All right, so the last 3 games.
You can make resolutions.
No, don't play ads. The last 3 games he's played 30. He's played 42 minutes. In his last 42 minutes, he has 25 points, 3 boards. He's shooting 3, 6 for 9. He's shooting 10 for 14 from the field, and he's shooting. God.
Good night, Jason Lee.
He's shooting.
Have a good one.
Yeah, sorry, my math isn't working. He's shooting 3 for 6 from the three-point line his last 3 games. He's shooting 10 for 14 from the field. He's played 42 minutes, and he has 25 points. That's a really good stretch for him. A really good stretch for Little. He's looked good. I like that he's cutting. I like that he's not settling for threes. That was a big problem earlier this year, and that was a big problem with me in previous years when we had Harkless, when we had Aminu. Those guys would just sit in the corner and spot up from 3, and people were like, well, what do you expect Stas to do? What do you expect the offense to do? These guys just can't shoot threes. Well, have these guys cut, pounded into their heads that they should be cutting, because a lot of times when you have that pick and roll big that gets the ball in the middle of the lane off the pick and roll, whoever was guarding Aminu or Harkless would have to step over and help. Or when Dame beat the defenders on the pick and roll and got downhill, whoever was defending Aminu or Harkless would help. This year, you'd have Bazemore and Little in the corners, and whoever was guarding them would help onto Dame, and Dame would make the right pass, kick it out, and these guys would just spot up to shoot threes, and they weren't good three-point shooters. So that's why I was getting so triggered earlier this year, because all those guys have to do is cut and get a dump-off pass and shoot a layup or dunk. Bazemore would be able to convert some of these, and he was an awful two-point shooter, awful inside the arc. Now, you have Little cutting, and he's had multiple dump-off passes the last 3 games so that he's finished on. He had 2 lobs that he caught from Dame where he got up. Like, Dame threw the ball up, knowing he could throw it up to Little, and Little would go up and get it. And Nasir Little, like, dude is crazy athletic, so he's a good lob target. He has a long wingspan. Now he's cutting baseline, and he's we're getting really easy buckets out of it instead of him spotting up from 3. So I love to see that. But then also, the threes he is taking, his stroke looks better, and he's making them. So,
Man, I'd love to go back to that Dallas game with considering how we've played other than that game recently and just not play Swanigan those 9 minutes at power forward and have Little in there and just see how different that game would have been. Yeah.
I mean, dude, we've lost like 8 games this year we had no business losing. No business losing. Like, the Cavs.
I don't know if we win that game because
I'm not counting that.
But like,
I'm not counting that. But like Golden State on the road where they were missing their entire starting 5. You had we lost to the Cavs on the road when they were missing Kevin Love. You lost to New York Knicks on the road. You lost to the Pelicans on the road and at home. The Pelicans have been playing better lately, but like at least should have won one of those. You know, you lost in the last seconds to the 76ers when we botched that final defensive possession and gave up a wide open 3. That's 5 games. I know I'm missing. What else am I missing? There's another game in there that we had no business losing.
Did you say Cleveland?
Yes. I'll go to ESPN and go to.
We lost to Sacramento without Fox and Bagley.
There's another one without Fox or Bagley. Even with injuries, these are games that, in my opinion, we had no business losing.
We lost to the Suns. We lost Brooklyn at home.
I mean, those are okay teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not counting those. I'm saying, like, games that we definitely should not have lost. That's 6 games. If we had won those 6 games, we'd be 29-21. We would be... Oh, God. This is why I was so frustrated about these games, man. I wasn't just sitting there buying the injury excuse because we shouldn't have lost to them even with the injuries, but we'd be 6 games ahead of where we're at now. We would be 4.5 games back of the 2nd seed with an easy upcoming schedule and with guys getting healthy. We could have pushed for the 2nd seed. We would have been... God, doing some math. No, actually, we would have been 5.5 games back. Yeah, 5.5 games back. But we would have only been 3.5 games back of the 4 seed. You know what I mean? We'd be in the mix. We would be 1 game back of 7th. You know what I mean? If we were 29-21. Then there was a bunch of teams jumbled there. That's the thing. We lost so many games we should have won, and we should be so much better than where we're at now. That's what's frustrating about this.
Yep.
But, you know, can't look back, just gotta look forward. Yeah. So anyway, let's look around the league. Actually, let's look at Utah's stats. Everything's being slow for me right now. I don't know why. My ESPN app is being glitchy. Showing no scores available. All right, so Utah, they had 3 guys scoring more than 20 points. They got 25 from Mitchell, 22 from Conley, who started 8 for 10 but finished 1 for 10. Made 8 of his first 10 shots, only made 1 of his last 10 shots. Bogdanovic had 22 points on only 11 shots. He hit 5 threes. Clarkson had 12 off the bench, but he was 4 for 14. Ed Davis had a couple bucks off the bench. He hasn't been playing a ton for them. That's the one thing with Utah, though, is their bench just is not impressive, man. Their bench is not impressive to me. I think they need to make another move, but they don't really have the pieces to trade to match salary.
Oh, gee, what? How does that sound familiar?
I mean, they made a good Exum for Clarkson trade, but now it's like they have a bunch of like minimum salary guys, and then the guys then everybody making more than a minimum salary is guys they wouldn't want to trade. So maybe they trade like Ed Davis or something. That could be They're kind of set on guards. They need like a front court player, a 3, 4, or 5 off the bench. Royce O'Neal is solid, but they need like another guy. They just need another guy. So outside of the Jazz Blazers game, we had. I wish NBA would stop saying no scores available. All right, there we go. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 10 games tonight, including the Blazers game. The Clippers beat the Timberwolves 118-106. Kawhi Leonard had 31. Paul George had 21. Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell had 17 and 16 off the bench. Maurice Harkless had 2 points on 1 shot in 16 minutes. I love how he had like a solid first game and everybody was freaking out about it. You remember that?
Yep.
He hasn't done anything since then, though. Karl Anthony Towns had 32 and 12. Outside of that, didn't really get much help. Andrew Wiggins, who like some Blazer fans really want, he was 4 for 11, had 13 points in 27 minutes. It's not a winning player in my opinion. Robert Covington had 12 points on 7 shots. Knicks beat the Pacers, so the Pacers are struggling. The Knicks were led by 28 from Marcus Morris. They had 16 from Randall. The Pacers had 25 from Sabonis, who is an all-star this year. That's awesome to see, man. Was Arvydas ever an all-star? Did he get voted to the all-star game? You falling asleep?
Why? No, I'm just blanking on that.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
don't think he was an all-star.
So DeMontis.
I don't think he was.
Okay, DeMontis did what his father never did. I mean, Arvydas would have been an all-star if he came over at the beginning of his basketball
Yeah,
career.
I mean, he was like in his 30s when he came over and had multiple surgeries.
Victor Oladipo, in his second game back, I think? He played 22 minutes off the bench. He had 7 points on 2 for 14 shooting. 2 for 14. So that's a yikes. Brogdon was 4 for 13, had 8, 12, 7. They had Miles Turner and Brogdon back, so actually they were as healthy as they'd been all season long. The only guy they were missing... No, they weren't missing anybody. So they were healthy, and they lost to the Knicks. And they were playing in Indiana, so that's a bad loss for them. The Heat beat the Magic 102-89. They were led by 24 points from Jimmy Butler. Myers Leonard had 18. He was 7 for 14 from the field, 4 for 9 from three-point land. Myers Leonard had 18 and 14 in 29 minutes, so that might have been his best game of the season. Also had 5 fouls. You know, Myers loves to foul. Tyler Hero had 23 off the bench for them as well. Miami moved to 33 and 15. Did not see that coming this year. Orlando falls to 21 and 28. They had 24 from Aaron Gordon. They had 21 from Vucevic. That team just doesn't have much bench. They're playing off the bench. They brought Michael Carter-Williams, Wes Iwundu, and Gary Clark. Were 3 of the 5 players that played off the bench. Outside of that, they had Bamba and Ross. So that bench is garbage. That bench is worse than ours, I'd say. Mavericks beat the Hawks 123-100. Luka Doncic was out, but they've played decently without Luka Doncic. They had 27 from Brunson. Dorian Finney-Smith had 22, so their role players stepping up in Doncic's absence. Trae Young only had 12 points, 6 rebounds and assists in 26 minutes. So Dame passed him up for third in the league in scoring because they were tied going into tonight at 29.4. Now there's going to be a major difference because Dame outscored him by 39 points tonight. So, other games, we got the Warriors beating the Cavs. I'm not going to look at that box score. Screw that. Wizards beat the Nets. Kyrie Irving got hurt in this game, but I think he's okay. He got interviewed post-game and seemed to, I don't know, just based off his demeanor, I think he's all right. Joe Harris had 22. If they look to move him, that would be a forward that I would like, but we'd have to trade Whiteside, or I don't know, matching that salary would be tough. Dinwiddie had 26. Beal had 34 for the Wizards. Celtics beat the 76ers, blew them out 116-95. The Sixers have kind of been in a rough patch lately. They are... I don't know what place they are in the East right now. They fall to 6th in the East. It's kind of weird that they're 6th in the East. They're behind Indiana, Miami, Boston, and Toronto. The Eastern Conference is going to have some great first-round series this year, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the playoffs in the East.
Because the thing is, in the East, like past years, it's been like a lot of chalk, and it hasn't been super competitive. Like, I don't know, there'd be like 3 good teams and the rest wouldn't have a chance. You know what I mean? Or 4 good teams and the rest wouldn't have a chance. So the first round was always super boring. Now you have 6 you have like one insanely good team in Milwaukee, 41-7, but Toronto, Boston, Miami, Indiana, Philadelphia are all on kind of the same playing field. And then as the 7th seed right now, you got the Brooklyn Nets, so they got Kyrie and they got some talent there, and maybe they make a trade. I mean, that Brooklyn would be, Brooklyn-Toronto series, Kyrie could put that team on his back, it's going to be some intriguing series. That 8th seed in the East is going to be a team that's going to get absolutely destroyed by Milwaukee. But other than that, the other 3 series should be good there. Even in the West too, you guys just going to be a great playoffs this year. I hope Portland's a part of it. I hope Portland can be competitive and maybe win a series. But of course, we have to wait and see. 2 more games. You had the Spurs being the Hornets 114-90. They were down 19 in the third and won by 24. So that is a 43-point swing in one half, which is insane. Bridges had 25 for the Hornets, but they blew a lead. DeRozan had 24 for the Spurs. Aldridge only had 8 and 7. They just had a bunch of people chipping in there. And then final game of the night, you had the Lakers beating the Kings, 129-113. LeBron had a triple-double. Anthony Davis had 21 for them. So that was the scores from tonight. A lot of Western Conference teams, a lot of Western Conference playoff teams winning, or teams battling for the playoffs. You have the Lakers won, Spurs won, Mavericks won, Clippers won. So, I don't know. Didn't make up any ground, really. I would like to see OKC start losing. I would like to see Dallas start losing. I was hoping Dallas would drop a couple games they should win, maybe against Atlanta with Doncic out, but that's not the case. Because Dallas is a team we're only 7.5 games behind for 6th. We're 8 games behind Houston, so maybe we might have a chance if we get really, really hot and continue this type of play. But
yeah, you don't want to wish injuries on someone, but there's always a team that gets hit with injuries and falls down the standings like we did at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't start doing that, man. You might curse us even worse than we're cursed right now. So, yeah, Dame is averaging 29.8 points per game. He's 3rd in the league. He's almost past Giannis, so he's almost 2nd. Would like to see him pass Giannis. Yeah. So
I doubt he passes him in the MVP though.
No, he won't.
Just not.
I mean, when Milwaukee's 41-7,
they're gonna win
22.
like 65 games. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's Giannis's to win this year. Dame, I don't know. That's what sucks about the Blazers not being better is Dame would be legitimately considered for winning MVP for the first time in his career, but it's not the case, man, because this team just hasn't been good enough. So. I'll answer questions from chat.
So you're nervous about tomorrow?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I got it. I'm gonna have to go to bed here in a few minutes because I have to get up super early.
All right, yeah. I'm gonna wrap this up in a second. I'm kind of running out of stream. You know what what were you saying?
Clays wants you to do a post-game show for Dame and All-Star events.
Yeah, I mean, I could do something. I don't know. I'm not super excited for the All-Star game because they made it so gimmicky and changed some stuff up. But could do something around that. We'll have to figure that out. We'll figure that out after the trade deadline. I'll figure that out because we're revving up for the trade deadline. I still got to figure out exactly like what type of graphical stuff I'm going to do for the trade deadline and that type of stuff. Am looking forward to what? Thursday though. It's Sunday. Hopefully the Niners can win. I'm gonna be so upset if the Niners lose, man. I don't know what it's like for my team to win a championship, so I'm nervous for tomorrow, man. I'm nervous as hell. I want to get that monkey off my back and have my team win a championship. Yes, I'm right. Trevin says, "LOL." I didn't see it at first. He said, "LOL, you're running out of stream," because I said I'm running out of steam. Second, dude, 2 days in a row for post-game streams it feels like a back-to-back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like a back-to-back because we stream for a lot longer. Usually it's 2 hours, a little bit more. It's not as relaxed as like the podcast, so to say. You know, if we have like I don't know. It's a little different when we got like 170 people in here. You know, it's
Good night, Kyle.
Little different vibe, you know. Not in a bad
So
way at all, but what were you saying?
Alex Wolf is asking if Little has a chance to make second team All NBA or All Rookie. I don't think he has a chance at all.
No.
You're talking about, well, let's just name 10 players. So you got Jaw, Nunn, Brandon Clark,
I'm
Paschal,
gonna look at NBA rookie stats and
Hero. There's 5.
here we go.
Zion will get
got you.
voted before he does.
I got you. Morant, John Morant, Kendrick Nunn, R.J. Barrett, Rui Hachimura, Eric Paschal, Tyler Hero, DeAndre Hunter, Darius Garland, P.J. Washington, Brandon Clark. They're all averaging over 12 points per game. That's 10 rookies right there.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you got Kobe White getting 11, Jarrett Culver getting over 9, Reddish getting over 9, Kevin Porter Jr. is getting 9, but he's been hurt. Jackson Hayes has been playing. He's like a rim protector, but he's getting over 8 points per game. Michael Porter Jr. has been picking it up lately.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you got.
Hasn't Baisley been okay lately too?
I think Baisley's kind of picking it up. It was just cool to see. But, yeah, I'm looking for Little's averages. Little's getting, 3 points per game? Yeah, there's no chance he ends up making second team all-rookie. I'd be shocked. Let me look up Baisley, though, because I did hear a little bit of buzz that he was playing better. And that Baisley was, my sleeper target this year.
Doumbia has also been playing a lot lately.
Baisley had... Oh, no, he had... Last game, he didn't score in 12 minutes. But he had a 11-point game on 5 for 7 shooting on the 24th against Atlanta. Then the night after, literally the night after, he had 15 on 5 for 6 shooting against Minnesota. That's the thing is he basically is a guy who, if he figures it out mentally, could be really good. He just doesn't play with confidence and doesn't know what to do. Basically, just looks kind of like unsure of himself and second guesses himself seemingly every time he tries to do something. That's common thing with rookies.
But I mean, both you and I knew that he wouldn't be like coming right away and help a team really, and the fact that he's even playing at all is kind of like Little.
Yep, 100%. Can we get babyface clean cut, Tori? Yeah, I need a shave. But I don't really care about all this. Decline just got home and watching the replay of the game in the stream. Thanks for giving us content this late. Yep, appreciate it, man. Glad you enjoy it. We're running out of steam, though. I'm getting that fatigue, man. Second night in a row. It'd be nice to have a couple days off. We'll have our podcast on Monday. I need to catch up on videos. I'm going to post a mailbag prompt because I missed last week's mailbag. I'll post a mailbag prompt, so stay tuned for that. I'll do that tonight. And I'll come up with like a trade deadline type of video, a trade talk type of video.
Hey, Dame Dalla, can you hear me right now? Are you listening?
I think it's past his bedtime.
He just asked the question, and So, okay. Look at the top right of Tori's screen, please.
Yep. I don't have the preview pictures up for other colorways, but those will officially go on sale tomorrow. I got to figure it out. I just kind of got set back by not having internet when I was actually going to drop them, and then we had 2 games in a row. I basically had 3 streams in 2 days. So yeah, I'll figure that out tonight, tomorrow, or something. I'll post something on Twitter about having all the previews and stuff up. But I'm dropping merch, dropping Mellow sweatshirts finally. So stay tuned on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, at Tori Jones YT, it's right there. Eric's at Hoofshock. Channel page is at Blazers Uprise. I also post something on the community tab when I drop it. Because you could buy it now, I think. I just don't have the previews for other colorways, and I'm selling like 4 or 5 different colorways. So I just want to get those up before I start like plugging that heavily, if that makes sense. But in about a week or so, we'll drop Blazers Uprise branded stuff. But this is just a keep Portland mellow design. So yeah, blazersupprise.com/merch. It's just the site's kind of bare bones at the moment. It's just for the merch. Just wanted to get it up for merch, and then in the off season, I want to create a website where I could have people write and create it like a media website like that. But you know, everything's a work in progress. So
Clays is asking what the plan for the trade deadline coverage is.
Got it. Morning of the trade deadline. We will be live. I don't know exactly what time. Maybe the night before we will be live. I want to tweet out a schedule by like Tuesday.
There's no game Wednesday night, so maybe we'll just do a late podcast and go late or something.
Yeah, instead of doing like would you want to just do like a short, like 30 minutes, like, I don't know, would you want to do a 30 minutes podcast earlier in the day, and then we could do picks against the spread and kind of like summarize some trade rumors or whatever, and go for like 30 minutes at like 3, and then we could go live like later that night, assuming stuff happens?
I mean, a lot of this depends on what actually happens this week, because a lot of times, like, there's a trade tomorrow, the Sunday before the trade deadline is usually a big day. That's when we got Hood. It was like a few days before the trade deadline. So, like, if trades happen on Wednesday, obviously we'll go in and talk about them as they happen. But yeah, I guess we're gonna have to kind of play it by ear, because if there's a lot of movement when we wake up on Thursday morning, we'll go live as early as we need to, right?
I mean, I'll probably pull an all-nighter, to be honest, but I don't want to be on stream all night.
I got my mother-in-law is gonna watch my little one, and the other kids are in school, so
okay, cool.
I got it clear on Thursday for several hours of
awesome
being available.
So how many games are on Wednesday?
I'm looking it up right now.
Because I would like to do picks against the spread on Wednesday.
What day is that? The 5th?
The day before the trade deadline, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be the 5th. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 games, looks like.
Okay, we'll do. You want to do like a 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. short little podcast, and then go live later that night. If something happens in the NBA, if there's like no trades, then I don't know if there's a point for us to go live later in that night.
Yeah, I'll just see like what the rumors are and stuff.
Yeah,
but if there's a ton of rumors out and we have a lot to talk about, that's cool.
Yeah.
If there's hardly anything going on, then yeah, we might just wait.
And if there's like an NBA trade on like Tuesday or something, I'll like drop a video on it or something. I don't know. We're just gonna cover every trade. Just why not?
Depends on how big it is.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's worthy of a live stream,
if it's Trevion Graham for I don't know, throw in another random G League level player, then we're not gonna do it. If it's like Trevion Graham for why am I blanking on all G League players? I was trying to come up with like a G League level player, and I literally couldn't. If it's like Trevion Graham for Ken Birch, then we're not gonna do a video or a live stream around it. But if it's like a Willie Cauley-Stein level player or something like that, then we'll do some content around it. So
yeah, for sure.
So we'll keep you guys updated over the next week, though. Just stay tuned with the community tab. Stay tuned with Twitter. Looking forward to this trade deadline. Kind of be nice to get it out of the way and not even. That's the thing. After that, nobody's going to be able to talk trades. It's going to be weird, you know. Everybody's talked trades all season long. It's going to be weird. Like nobody will be able to talk trades. Like won't have all that discussion. Like we've talked trades on stream for at least like 24 hours combined total. Maybe probably more than that. So honestly, it will be kind of nice to have the trade deadline out of the way and not be discussing trades anymore, to be honest. And not have to think about it or worry about what's going to happen or worry about planning the stream, Gonna enjoy it for sure, but it'll be nice to move past it, if that makes sense. So anyway, we're going to wrap up this podcast. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Hopefully,
Go 49ers.
Go 49ers. Hopefully you guys have a good Sunday. Hopefully me and Eric have a good Sunday. Either me and Eric will both have a good Sunday, or we'll both have a really bad Sunday, depending on what happens in that Super Bowl. So go Niners. Oh, man, I'm nervous. Nervous as hell, man. My Twitter is going to be all about the Super Bowl tomorrow, so if you guys aren't Niner fans and hate seeing me get hyped at 49ers doing well, then I'm sorry if that happens, because I'm not going to say they're going to do well, because who knows? Going to knock on wood and everything. I'm not going to jinx anything. Dame Dollar says, then chat won't exist because that's all we talking about trades. Yeah, you guys will have to talk about food or something else. You guys will figure it out. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Basketball's been a lot of fun lately. Blazers have been a lot of fun. So these streams have been awesome.
Dame's been a lot of fun.
Dame's been a lot of fun, man. Gonna go watch his full highlights. Gonna go watch the highlights back of the game and relax and lay down for a little bit because I'm a bit exhausted. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.